Hey guys, welcome to Where's the Line. This is Alex on the left, Tillman on my right. I am Elliot. How we doing today?
Doing good.
Doing good. Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day.
Happy Father's Day. Happy Juneteenth.
Happy Juneteenth.
And happy birthday to my daughter today.
Oh,
as well.
happy birthday.
Hey, my birthday's Wednesday.
Friday.
Yeah, but that's Wednesday.
Huh?
Happy birthday to you on Wednesday.
Happy birthday to everybody.
You have the same birthday as Hillary? You're the 23rd?
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, her birthday
Oh,
is
Wow,
man.
his future wife.
Peas in
Yeah.
the pod.
Yeah. Well, the scary part of that is I turned 49.
Oh.
You scared of that?
You're about to have your midlife crisis in you.
I don't know. Well, I am going to buy a Corvette. I mean, at some point, and that's going to happen.
Man, those are nice.
Huh?
The new Corvettes are nice.
I don't want a new one.
Oh man, the new ones are nice.
Well, they are nice, but I'm not going to drop $100,000 on a car. I'm just not going to do it. But I want a 73 convertible.
Those are nice too.
Yeah, they look sharp.
sharp.
I really want the 72 because that was the year I was born, but they've become so expensive because that was the last year of the chrome bumper out front.
Yeah.
They've become collectible. So even to get a base car to try to, what do you do to a car when you refurbish it, build it out the way I want it. Modern, like I want modern suspension and braking and new interior. I want the same components because I want it to be the real deal like it was, but I want everything underneath to be safe and modern.
Yeah, you want to also have all the wacky races buttons, so you can have like the oil slick and the.
Well, that's when I buy my Aston Martin, and I'll do that. My James Bond. Car.
Oh, good.
Yeah, then I'll get that. But yeah, I don't know. 49 is. There are many people in my life that would have taken bets and put a lot of money down that I wouldn't have lived to be 35, let alone 49.
Amen.
And feeling like, I'm just really hitting my stride in some ways, and it's an interesting life kind of moment. But I don't know. That's not what I wanted to talk about at all. But happy Father's Day. You got children?
Yeah.
I got grandchildren. Elliot and Hillary are yet to.
Yeah, we don't have two kids yet.
They haven't planted the seed yet, but all the fathers out there, past and present, our fathers are gone, and we think about them. I thought he
lives with me now.
Okay. Well, mine is gone, and my granddad, who was the biggest influence. I think about them on days like this. But happy Father's Day. So, in moving on to topic. I think thinking about just the last few weeks and everything, and I know the intention of Where's the Line is to find the line between differences, particularly racial or social constructs that we need to talk about, okay? And in reality, we do come up against some interesting points because, we're not experts in everything, right? So we don't know all the arguments and statistical data. And sometimes it just kind of gets into that point where you felt like a couple of weeks ago you were getting cut off and you had a point to make, or, I can make a point and say something's wrong and I don't have the evidence to back it up. And, we get in that place where it's just a lot of tension, which we need to address. But I think we bring it up a lot, that there's more things that people have in common, black and white, green or purple, orange, yellow, whatever color, that have in common, because the human experience, the American experience, has a lot of positive things that we get to do. Everything is not negative, right? I don't wake up every day going, now, you don't make this a white thing, but I don't wake up every day going, oh, life in America. I actually wake up every day going, I got a lot to do, let's get it done. And that, by default creates the opportunity to go to like a Top Golf thing. I did that for the first time. That was kind of
love Top Golf.
That was
Top
pretty
Golf
neat.
is good.
Love Top Golf.
Have you been to it?
Yeah, I went there last Father's Day for Father's Day.
Did you? It's pretty neat. Now, it's not real golf because I'm sitting there hitting the 3-wood out to the net, and it doesn't score any points. I'm like, well, that's a 250-yard, in the air, and it doesn't score points. But so I figured out Top Golf, but that's fun. But that was there are a lot of fun. You can go hiking. We have this North Georgia. There are 1,000 things you can do that are fun and interesting. Atlanta. We got the Braves that we're playing this weekend, beating up on The Cardinals, the Hawks are in the playoffs. Got a chance, depending on who you ask. It's tied 3-3. We'll see what happens. The Falcons, God knows what that's going to be this year. We'll see. But
spin the wheel, baby.
Atlanta United is the only major league team that has brought us a national title since '95 when the Braves did it. So and we've got all these.
That's soccer. Does it really count?
Yes, it does.
No, it doesn't.
See, Tillman's on my side on that one.
We're American. It don't count.
Actually, well, soccer is not a high-scoring game. It's a technical game, and it's kind of like hockey. There's a lot of things that go on before.
See, it's very un-American. Americans all about scoring bunches of
Exactly.
points. Look at basketball, baseball.
Baseball doesn't really score a bunch of points.
Just depending on the game.
Well, yeah, sometimes. I mean, the Braves did win
It's
9-1.
I'll be honest with
So baseball is now like the lure of the big three
Right,
because
because
there's not enough home runs.
So you look at
When steroids era was there.
Sosa, McGuire.
So their high scoring games are like basketball and football. So you get out in the teens at least every game.
Or more, right? Basketball can score over 100 points.
Yeah.
I never thought about like
Running
that.
up the score, man.
Well, they talk about that. I mean, in baseball, they change the ball a little bit every so often, and this year's been a pitcher's year because I don't know what they've done. They've expanded the strike zone a little bit, and the ball is probably either softer for the grip or tighter. I don't know which way they do it, but that's been on ESPN. They've been talking about that, and recently there's been an onslaught of more home runs and extra base hits. So I don't know if they've changed the ball back or something. But yeah, when there's not a lot of runs scored, it drives viewership down, I guess. But still like baseball. It is just NASCAR. Let's not leave out my boys. They're racing this afternoon in Nashville.
They have 500 laps, man. That's a lot of laps.
It's a 400 lap race today, I think. Or 400 miles. I don't know how big Nashville Speedway. It's the first time they've ever gone there, so it's pretty interesting. NASCAR is a sport. No,
Okay.
it is.
Okay.
I'll go with him on that because I've seen what those dudes have to do to get in the car.
You got to be an athlete just to get in. I drove one of those cars on Atlanta Motor Speedway. That was the coolest feeling ever. 170 miles an hour at a wall, and you got to turn. And that's a cool feeling because you take your foot off the gas, turn the wheel, that thing sticks to the ground. That was a neat experience. I also drove a Ferrari on a road course too one time. That was kind of cool. But anyway, to me, this is normal conversation that people have, right?
Yeah.
And none of those topics involve, well, I'm sure either one of us could make it, but doesn't involve racism, right?
Right.
It doesn't have
Tillman
to.
and I disagreeing with you and laughing at your.
Not my NASCAR.
Yeah.
Right. That part I can accept. I mean, what is that, classism? What, y'all know all the isms. Where would your picking on NASCAR fall?
I think it's humorism.
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 But things like that, like what do you do for fun? Kind of thing.
I play video games.
What video game?
Right now I play Marvel Avengers, and I play the Division 2. Division 2 is basically set up for a post-pandemic situation, and you play as essentially a soldier going out trying to stop some of the groups that are formed that are continue to create chaos.
So you can first-person shooter type?
It's second. I mean, third person.
Yeah,
it's third person, but it's a great.
What is
You can get those
third-person?
squads, right? You see it from behind.
Yeah, and third person, but you see it from behind.
So you're not in them, but you're.
Yeah, I'm not through their eyes. Like I'm standing behind them, probably 10 feet.
I found that that's more easily controlled sometimes than
Yes.
first-person shooters.
Yeah, I don't really play first person shooters at all. I need perspective of what's going on around me.
NASCAR racing games too. They have those where you can do it in the car, on top of the car or from behind. I want to see what my car is doing relative to the cars around it, and
Exactly.
I didn't know that was called third person. I just like that angle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's more natural for racing games. Yeah, Division 2 is cool. I'm bad at it, so I didn't really get into it.
Yeah. No, I've been playing it for a while. I guess for a while now, but I still started late with it. But that's a game I love it. I actually finally beat essentially last level or last boss this weekend. And so, of course, we'll be working, so I don't have time to sit down and play really, but I'll sat down and play for like 2 hours straight this weekend. And so
that's cool.
It was good.
Video games are cool. I can honestly say, though, I have never played Minecraft.
Yeah.
So I played it with my fiance, and it was very much a headache kind of thing. It's a time killer, man. Like, you just do...
And the graphics are at 64-bit type thing?
I think they're all... Yeah, they're 16-bit.
Yeah,
the whole point. The whole point is that it's, like, low effort, or, like, low heart. It's easy for your computer to run it.
Right.
But
you build things, or dig, or...
And you collect stuff.
Now, that's where, for Minecraft, I've seen videos of people building, like, entire city replicas.
Yes.
And so, those things are nice to watch. The videos after you've accomplished what you were trying to accomplish.
Can you imagine the 1,000 hours that go into...
Not at all.
Well, and that's when you're not doing the editing software. You're doing the, like, unlimited, so you don't have to do the effort to go gather the things. You just have all of the things, and you just start making stuff. So then it's just the building part. So it's actually taking a part of the game away, the collection.
I don't know about that. All my reference to Minecraft is some years ago, a few years back, we were planting blueberry bushes, and my grandson, L, was there, and I got the kids to help dig holes to plant. We had like 5 blueberry bushes we were going to plant. And so he starts working on it. He got tired. I'm like, come on, boy. He goes, well, in Minecraft, all I have to do is tap the ground twice, and it makes a hole. And I'm like, well, this is the real world. You need to dig the hole. So he put the plant in the hole. I thought that was funny.
Yeah.
And he did. He stood there and laughed, and his sister busted out the holes, but it was kind of funny. You tap the ground twice, and it makes a hole. I'm like, oh, sorry, buddy. In real life, that's not how that rolls.
Yes. Also in Minecraft, if you stand there repeatedly, you'll dig straight down into lava. So
Really?
yeah, you can just hold. You can just hold and go down
All the way to the
till the point where it hits the bottom. Like there's an actual bottom layer, which you basically it's as far as the game loads, so
Right.
they make an indestructible floor.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I've only
It's very
seen
deep.
like 2 or 3 minutes of a clip of watching somebody do it, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I tried to get into it a little bit because I have, it was like 3 kids that play it.
Right.
And so, of course, anything to spend time with my kids. So I was like, I was trying to play it or whatever, trying to get into it. And I went in there and I was watching them for a minute and thinking I was going to play, and I was just like, I'm not playing this.
No.
It's not.
I'd rather go kill bad guys than...
Exactly.
Right.
Go kill bad guys.
What are y'all's plans for today? What are they doing for you?
I won't know till I get home.
Was it kind of a surprise thing?
Yeah, my wife is like the queen of holidays. And so I'm sure when I get home, the house will be fully decorated and there'll be pageantry. And I will have gifts and it'll be beautiful. The reason I love you, wife.
Oh, I thought you were pointing to me.
No.
I bet you love Adonis over there.
I was about to say, I told you this is very sudden.
But yeah, I know that she always does. And so,
Cool. So you're gonna go out? I mean, you don't get feedback, or you just don't, you go with it?
I know when I get there.
That is kind of a
Yeah,
nice
she has
thing too,
planned.
to be surprised. Sometimes it's nice to not know exactly what your day is going to be like.
Yeah.
The predictability of, the week can be a little monotonous.
I tend to plan out everything. I like to know the details. It's kind of hard to surprise me. That'd be fun. That sounds cool, dude.
Yeah, no, well, I guess for me it's not because I let her, like I already know when the holidays come in, this is what she does, so I just let her
Just go with it.
and we just go with it. And,
Give her the credit card and say, have a good time.
Well, because it's supposed to be make sure I have a good time.
Right, well,
Or
yeah,
your
make sure
holiday.
I have a good time. Right.
Yeah.
Well, kind of what comes with it though. Spring holidays is making her happy. Like she's going to do this thing for you, but it's still
My mom,
for her.
well, at Christmas it happens with my mom. She's that way.
Yeah.
She puts up like 7 Christmas trees.
Whoa, man.
I don't ask. I heard your grunting giggle underneath.
No, well, I can understand, I guess, from a sense because Christmas was a huge thing for my dad when we were younger. And, he would put on, the Temptations Christmas album, and we decorate the tree, and everything had to be a certain way. It's very specific in me and how it was set up. And then we always would go out and look at trees and lights. They used to have, a Christmas tree some kind of show or expo they would have every year at World Congress Center in Atlanta. We went to that every year, and where you walk around and you look at literally hundreds of trees decorated different ways.
Right.
And so that was a real big thing for us growing up.
The botanical gardens here do it. They have a pretty cool Christmas thing downtown.
Is that where you get on the trolley and just kind of?
No, you walk.
You drive through.
No, well, the botanical gardens you walk through.
Oh, I'm thinking of a different thing.
I'm
thinking of some
Bush. Not is it Bush Garden? No, it's outside of Atlanta.
It's something gardens though.
It is something gardens.
Yeah. Anyway, I've done that a couple of years.
That's pretty cool too. But the botanical gardens is pretty neat in the fall. Well, that's something cool.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
my mom, like I said, Mom does say, I understand that people getting it. We're really running all over the place.
Or just talking about stuff we like. I think that's
the point is that you can have conversations and they not turn into arguments and chaos. And this morning watching the news early, you can take any one topic and you can turn it into an argument. Or we could take Christmas and turn it into an argument.
Of course.
Because there's a war on Christmas, right? Or like that whole thing. Like
Christmas, well, we can't say Merry Christmas. We have to say Happy Holidays.
See, but that's the thing, is it's like a self thing, right? Like people, like businesses gonna say, I actually don't know what business says you have to say Happy Holidays as opposed to Merry Christmas if you are a fan of Christmas.
No, what they do, what happens is the major corporations just change how they operate.
Yeah.
And they just say Happy Holidays now.
Right.
And so they're not telling, quote unquote, you have to say it. Now the media is telling us we have to say certain things. But the major corporations just accept that, and this is how we do it because we don't want to offend anybody, because we want your money.
Yeah.
They're giving us your money. And it makes you think about not just that, but the way that we change, period, and everything. Like using proper pronouns for people and things of that sort as well. It's like, to me, just like Merry Christmas, that should be a personal decision, what I say. Like,
I agree.
If I say Merry Christmas, that's how I feel about this holiday season. If you want to say Happy Holidays or Xmas or Hanukkah or Kwanzaa, whatever you want to wish me, I'm okay.
You wish me Happy Kwanzaa.
Still, like nobody
gets mad. Yeah.
Exactly. So why are people offended by it?
Be dramatic, okay, Alex?
Y'all can't see what Elliot just did. It's hilarious. Go ahead.
And so
I'll shake the camera so that it'll make people feel like it's happening though.
But that's essentially, like I said, the same way, which is, this of course is touchy, even more so touchy, I believe, but that's, like I said, the same way I feel about pronouns. Like, I'm saying the pronoun that I identify you as. This is, and if you're offended by that, I apologize. I have no problem apologizing if you tell me something else. If I see a woman who's legitimately, like, born a woman, but you're, dressed up like a dude, and so I see that woman, I say, and I identify her as a dude, that was a mistake. And I can apologize and move forward or whatever, you hear me? But also the idea that you're going to force me to say what you say you are. If I can't look at you and tell that, how am I wrong?
That's a fair statement, yeah.
Well, I think the mentality there is correct, is that if you do it wrong, if you say something wrong and they go, hey, I'd rather be called X, and you just move on, I think that's exactly how it's supposed to go.
Okay.
Yes.
I think that there's a whole bunch of concern about people needing to read people's minds that nobody out there really does. Nobody out there expects anyone to read their mind. But like the media will make it seem like people are out there expecting that.
If you get it wrong, Well, and it's difficult. I mean, I happen to know someone, a transgender male, right? So was a woman and is going through the hormone treatment and so forth. And because for quite a period of time I knew her in a role, and now I know him, I kind of screw it up. And I've talked to him directly about it. It's like, I'm gonna get the pronoun wrong. And he just laughs. He doesn't care. He laughs it off. And in discussion, if other friends and we're talking about that individual, it's just kind of funny how it tends to be, maybe an older population has trouble kind of I don't know, I'm going to turn 49, so I don't know how to say older, but maybe older than me, have struggled with...
Ancient.
Yes, ancient is better. Those ancient folks have trouble getting around the pronoun. And the funny part is, to him, he doesn't care.
Yeah.
Right? and it, but the media make some people make a big deal of it. I mean, I don't think he cares what you call
Yeah.
Well, isn't that's a more independent person? I mean, I think a lot of people get sensitive, and they're all, it's obviously a big process.
it. It depends
right?
on their reason too. I mean, if they're seeking attention or it's for theatrics or, you know, it, that's where I get a little concerned about that transgender community. Is that if is it about attention or is it genuinely about an internal struggle that you've worked through that you're trying to, you know, conform with the identity that you believe that you have, or is it some other behavior? My thinking would be the ones that make a big deal out of it are trying to get attention or something.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I mean, I had that same, of course, my mom passed, it's almost 2 years ago now, but I had that conversation with her back then because she identified as homosexual, lesbian.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but I talked to her about the way she was conducting herself. I told her straight up, like, Mom, you out here just seeking attention. You know what I mean? Because I watched my mother go from being essentially introverted to where when she decided to come out, she just was out. Like, she was having a good time and this and the third, and I support all that, of course. You know what I mean? I'm glad that she was happy in that. But at the same time, I also noticed, like, all of a sudden you're like wearing rainbows and you got them all over the place. Like, what are you doing? Like, you seeking attention. And her argument was, well, I don't look gay. So if I don't have these rainbows, it don't make people comfortable enough to come talk to me. And I was like, man, you are a woman's woman still. And she was like, what you mean by that? I said, because you're a woman who's saying you're gay and you need something to let other women know they can talk to you. Why can't you just go talk to them?
Good argument.
Like, even as a woman, she still wanted, even as a gay woman, she still wanted for women to approach her. Yeah. She didn't want to have to approach them. Three out of the four parental figures that I've had in life are all part of the LGBT community. You know what I mean? Like, my mother and my father, who would essentially have been my stepdad, were. You know what I mean? It was just my stepmom. I guess I would assume not, because she never said that. But being raised by them and seeing different phases of their, I guess I'll call it homosexuality or fluidity or whatever you want to call it as well. It, for me, as when I was younger, of course, it didn't lead to me questioning myself or anything like that, but it did lead to me questioning purpose or why, i.e. like, why my mother or father would even get married when they both say they homosexual, you know what I mean? And they gave me the story, my mom gave me the story of, wanting to get out the house. My dad, didn't see it that way. Which was funny because my dad was the one that thought that they were like in love, I guess. And my mom was like, that's not the case. But it just leads to, it leads to me having a comfort with discussing how I feel about homosexuality, even whether it's from a Christian perspective or a moral perspective. Because I have close relationships and experiences with people of that community. And so even though I'm not of that community, and understand I've been yelled at as well. Right. Because as soon as I say what I think, then it's, well, you don't know. And I'm like, well, not my parents. Like, I was raised by it. You know what I'm saying? And but it's just like me saying my black friend. No, it's my mom and my dad, dude.
That's your household.
It's not. It's my mom, my dad, basically my stepdad. Like, no, that's not the same as you talking about your black friend. You know what I mean? There's a difference of understanding there that I don't feel that people will give you credit for in a situation. So you do get yelled at, but like I said, I have to return that energy. Yeah, because I have my viewpoints on it based on my experiences in life.
Okay.
What's that parallel then? Like, since you were raised by parents who were gay, what if someone who was white said that they were raised by black parents? Does that change your opinion pretty dramatically?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, definitely.
No, I never thought about that.
The same way that when there's a black child raised by white, if a black person tells me, and this goes to stereotyping, but this is what it is, and you have to still try to judge the character besides that. Mm-hmm. But when a black person tells me they were raised by white parents, I immediately think, okay, there are certain movies you've never seen, there's a certain
it affects their
there's
upbringing
there's,
so much.
there's certain language that I may use that you don't get. Like and now of course in this social media era it's not as bad because everybody's using the same slangs and stuff like that now. But you still recognize that they're going to have a different outlook on life than what your normal black person who's raised by their parents would have. Period. Mm-hmm. And that goes for any race being raised by another race. You know what I mean? Like when you're one race raised by another race, that changes things culturally.
Or being raised by gay or lesbian or homosexual parents.
That can become a cultural thing.
Yeah.
Now, for my parents, that wasn't until I was older.
Right.
I was about 12, 13 before they really started coming out more about it because they didn't want to influence me. My dad had a fear of me being gay. He feared that because he was gay, that I was going to be essentially born gay.
You were going to catch it.
Or I was going to catch it. Yes, my dad legitimately had that fear.
You're going to catch gayness.
That I was going to basically catch gayness. And he was scared of that for me because of, like I said, when people talk about the persecution of today for people, like it's anybody older, especially in that community, knows what it was like then.
To be black.
To be black, to be a black man and be gay. And he didn't want that for me at all. So much so, like I remember I wanted an earring when I was like 9, 10 years old, you know what I mean? Because like the cool kids in the class had a little earring, you know what I mean? A little diamond earring or something like that. And my dad was just, no. Like, and he was like, no, you like little boys? Do you like little boys?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, no, I just want an earring. And I didn't get it, why he would say that. But he was like, and then he told me, he said, well, only little boys that like little boys get earrings. Which I knew wasn't the case because all my friends got earrings and they don't
like boys.
They like girls.
That was a stereotype or a stigma from before. Now, which ear was cool?
I think it was the left ear.
The left ear was cool.
I think the left ear was cool. The right ear was supposed to be
right. Because when I was young, that was still a thing too. Men would get.
I know you're youngest.
When I was young, they would do it, and when I was a teenager, I did it to myself. I took a safety pin, a big one.
Yeah.
Heated it up with a lighter, wiped it off with alcohol, stuck a hole in my ear, put a gold little stud in there. My ear swole up so big that it covered the earring and had to go have it pulled out, and treated, and antibiotics and everything because I wanted to be cool.
Yeah.
Because in the 80s, well, that would have been the early 80s. That was cool.
Yeah.
I remember they also had those earring guns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And those things I think are actually really bad, right?
I don't know. I that was the only attempt I ever had to put a hole in my body that's not here naturally.
Gotcha.
I had a few surgeries here and there, but that was the only effort I had to put a hole in my body.
You didn't accidentally shoot yourself in the foot?
I got shot with a nail gun by a church member when we were re-roofing someone's house.
Oh, yeah, I saw the picture of that.
Yeah,
that's gruesome.
Oh, man.
Yeah, it turned out really good. The way it hit, it either bounced off the bone or it went like through because you could actually see the tip coming out the other side, so it didn't hit the bone. Mm-hmm. And the doctor at the ER was able to pull it out. I couldn't pull. I tried to pull it out, but those little when they come out, they got little barbs on the side of them, so it was holding in the flesh. And I was trying to pull it out, and I couldn't. About fell off the roof because when I stood up, I was dizzy. I guess I'd been holding my breath, and my buddy had to say, "Go that way." What was funny about that? I had been running the nail gun all day, and part of some things I've done in the past with disaster relief and, church ministries, roofing is a big thing because if you ever go to an area after a hurricane or something, there's a lot of roofs that need to be done. We learned how to do it, and I run the nail gun real fast. So and this good friend, he wanted to run the gun, so I was putting the shingles down for him, and he was pop, 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 pop. Well, the trick is you leave the last nail out till you put the shingle down, then you go pop, pop. Well, I put my hand down. It was really my fault. I probably put it in the way. Mm-hmm. And then he went, ta-tonk, and bless his heart. Mm-hmm. He like freaked out. He ran, jumped off the roof. He's like, I'll get the car. And Keith, my friend, grabbed me by the neck because I about stumbled off the roof. He goes, go that way. I'm like, okay. So I climb off the thing, and it really wasn't hurt because trauma doesn't hurt that way. So I just kind of was like, oh, crap, I know this is going to hurt. Mm-hmm. So I get in his car, And we were up in the mountains. This is when I was going to college up in Tacoma Falls. Great school, Christian school, by the way. We were only about 3 miles from the hospital, the ER, up the mountain. Yeah. We did 184 miles an hour from the house, exaggeration, from the house to the ER. I mean, we're flying down the mountain. We're flying down the mountain like this, and I'm like, dude, man, it's a thumb. I want to live to get there. We hit the parking lot of the ER sideways. I'm like, Greg, come on. And we walked into the ER, and it still really wasn't hurting. It was starting to throb. But there were kids running around everywhere, and I got this nail sticking out of my hand. So I just covered it up and didn't want to show anybody. And the nurse was like, can I help you? And I kind of showed it to her, and she's like, come with me. So they grabbed me and took me to the back. They took an x-ray to make sure it wasn't in there. But the doctor came in, he's like, well, a real man would have pulled it out. And I said, I tried. And I couldn't, and he had to numb it up, and he pulled it out. But yeah, I got shot with a nail gun. That's the only other wanton, well, I didn't want that, but hole that I put in my...
Well, if it was your fault, you were at that point you were asking for it, right?
Well, I kind of put my hand in where it shouldn't have gone. I didn't manage to shoot him in the hand. He managed to shoot me in the hand with the nail gun. So,
anyway,
I want to go back to a point that both of y'all made that I thought was kind of interesting because, Elliot, your position on like when somebody gets really adamant, passionate about whatever. Where Tillman, your point is if you bring it, you're going to get it. Right? Yeah. Okay. Don't bring negative energy because then you're going to get negative energy. And what where I sit on that, and what I do for a living when I deal with people, because a lot of times there's a lot of emotions, a lot of tension. Sometimes it's called transference. It's directed at me because I'm the one trying to help them unravel it. What the concept I've come up with that, and I think it's part of what makes it work well with us because we manage it. Remember last week we hit on like taking thoughts captive and being in control of our emotions or thoughts and whatever. My theory on that is that why put negative energy into a already volatile situation, which can go to everything we've talked about in terms of race and whatever else. You know, we're trying to stay away from all that today, but in communication, up until the point that it's personal, like you call me a white supremacist. Even then, I think I'd laugh at you. But but the N word would be a great example of it. Like that's language that deserves a response and a firm response. You know, if I can get away. I'd let someone. You can say whatever you want to me. Now you attack the people that I care about in some way, then we might have a problem because then I'm going to have trouble. But why put negative energy already into a negative situation? I think that's where. You know, like we can sit here and talk about these topics and nobody's frustrated. We're actually just kind of laughing and cutting up because there's no intensity. But when we do hit a funny line, not just us, but everybody, people in general, now media with bias and driving a lot of this, social media, the attempt to try to not be normal anymore where you have to be something, you identify a certain way or making a stand, whether it be on, you know, America's great or America's not great, or masks or no masks, or you know, critical race theory or no critical race theory, racism, no racism, defund the police, fund the police, whatever. If somebody's coming at you with a lot of negative energy, I find sometimes it's almost better just to not give into it, because in the end, what do I lose by letting this guy just run his mouth or a woman just go off and say, okay, and walk away? I mean, what now? Where I think it gets squirrely is, well, I don't lose pride. I don't care.
Well, if you don't care,
I mean, now where it gets squirrely is if it's somebody you care about, or it's family, or someone's opinion. I can tell Elliot's got something to say.
No, I'm waiting for someone to respond.
Okay, but what do you lose if you just kind of go, okay? I mean, just because they yell louder, that makes them right? No.
Oh yeah.
Oh, is that it?
That's how it works.
Okay, I didn't. Well, then I can beat all of it.
That's how it works, Alex.
I got a loud voice, man. You sure you want that?
It's funny that you say that because I know somebody who watched our video before last, and they were saying that they were talking about you. It was like he got to stop talking with his hands, like it makes him right. And I was like, I do the same thing.
It makes me right.
Yeah, they was like you talking with your hands, like that make you right, because you're like.
Well, it just adds intention.
You're seizing up here.
I can't get the words out sometimes.
honestly, for me, when someone is attacking me, and we're talking about at the point of attacking, where it's literally like I'm coming at you. By that point, we've had conversation normally already up to a point.
Right.
So I've already delved. If he's got to the point where he feel like it's necessary to yell at me, then I've already delved into my emotions as well. So now we're not talking about two rational people. We're talking about two people who are already upset, already bothered, but I do have a tendency to be dismissive when I'm bothered. And it's not even a tendency. I hone that, honestly, to be quite honest about it. I used to be allegedly angry and violent, physically violent towards people. Allegedly. Yes. I was physically violent towards people anytime I got the least bit upset. I never talked. We didn't. No, I'm not trying to talk out anything. I'm not. If you upset me, you say something that upset me, I was attacking you physically. And so what I did was I watched women and I honed what the women in my life would do when they were upset. And I said, I want to do that.
What was that?
To essentially demean or be dismissive of, to use your words to crawl under someone's skin to a point that they can't take it anymore. And they just go away and leave you alone, essentially. Because
pretty brutal way to win an argument. I guess it's like a personal attack.
Yeah, but this is what most women tend to do. They tend to, when they're really upset, they tend to try to get under your skin. Versus physically, impose themselves because they're women. So they go another route.
Well, see, I would argue though that even that, I'd say
it's not a great thing.
Well, no, I would say that you're still putting energy into an already negative situation by doing that. I mean, I think you're making a point that to get to that level, you feel like some energy's already been invested, or somebody wouldn't be upset, right?
Yeah.
I got you there, and I do think that there's a point of tolerance that we all have. At some point, if you're gonna attack my character or my professional components, then I might have certainly if you attack anybody I care about, family or something like that, I'm gonna be in that argument. But I guess we all have a tolerance level, and we can be more tolerant. I think putting negative energy into it, whether it's that kind of backhanded, what I would call passive aggressive kind of attack, or aggressive, why do it? Why? I mean, if you're that passionate about the fact that the sky is green and not blue, I'm not gonna argue with you. I don't care.
I mean, it's kind of like you think about. I was watching videos of like scientists talking with flat earthers.
Yeah.
Right, which is kind of like you're talking about something.
Some people still believe that. I don't.
Oh, they're the people who believe it are hardcore into it.
I used to be one of those people.
Oh well, I kind of believe that. I see it.
Yeah. I love conspiracy theories.
It's a conspiracy
theory.
Yeah.
I delved into it and I saw things that made sense to me, and then I saw
that the government would lie to you, and so it's.
Oh yeah, I feel like the government lie about everything. But then I saw something that broke. You gotta understand, like.
That makes
YouTube
sense.
can be a very manipulative place. I mean, people seriously would delve into making videos to convince you of something they know is not true. And if you leave out all, the facts that point to the fact that it's not true, then you can come up with some good arguments. And I fell for those arguments.
Yeah, and the thing that I always get...
I got no comment on flat earth thing, man. I'm just not going to go there.
The people, but the whole point is that, like, the people who are flat earthers don't attack. They actually aren't very like aggressive at like attacking the people. They just try and create all these questions, but they don't really fully answer anyway. But it's interesting to see people on the other side of flat earthers. It's just they can't seem to gather it together. They just end up going like, no, flat earth is just so stupid that it can't be it. Well, and then it becomes a personal thing where it's like
well, that's what we talked about a little bit last week. The week before is that. You do kind of run out of things. I mean, in my mind, the Earth is round. There's a horizon. There's a lot of things that contribute to that.
You can see the ship's dip if you're at the right altitude.
Yeah, and you can see the curve of the Earth, and then explain an eclipse to me. Then if the Earth is flat,
the diagrams are really fun to look at.
Well, but if I don't have any, at some point does it de-evolve to the point you just say you're stupid? And
Which,
then that instigates them to.
Well,
then you're sheep.
the
you're
problem.
stupid. You're stupid.
I think the problem that arises, specifically in this, but of course in other situations, is that if there's solid evidence, of course, that the Earth is round,
Pretty much.
but that evidence comes from people who are far more educated, who went and gathered this evidence. Like, it didn't come from the guy Joe Smo sitting next to you. So when Joe Smo says the Earth is round, and you're a person that just likes to ask questions, then it's like, okay, well, how is that?
How'd you know?
And he can't really explain it to you, but he knows this is what we know. And if you're dumb if you don't know this, because everybody knows this. Well, why do you believe that? Because everybody knows. That's not good enough for me, because I like to ask questions. I want to know how everybody knows. Where's the empirical evidence of this? And that's how you can fall into flat Earth. But then once you see empirical evidence, and it's like as simple as there was a video, supposed to be a documentary of the guy who's supposed to be like the head of the flat earthers.
Yeah.
And they go out on the beach and they show him the horizon basically.
Right.
And he was like, "Oh, that's just fake." Wait a minute, you just watched a boat disappear on the horizon and the lines they did a whole experiment for you, and then you just outright dismissed it with a smirk on your face. And once that happened for me, that was my eye-opening moment for me.
It's like he's.
Because I was like, wait a minute, you're supposed to be like the king of this stuff, and you just completely full of crap. And so,
Professional wrestling is real too, right?
yeah, stop, man.
Dude, it's like, what's that? Macho Man? Oh,
but
I don't remember
understand-
the names. The Undertaker. He's retired now, isn't he?
Yeah, Macho Man as well,
Yeah, Macho
Hulk
Man.
Hogan as well.
He's super retired.
They're all
But the reason I'm saying is because just like that, there are people who will argue with you that you are stupid if you believe in the Bible and God. And so,
that's a different discussion.
but those people exist. I told there's a YouTube video that was dedicated to just making fun of me for believing in the Bible.
Oh,
Like a
God.
guy who breaks down how the Bible was fake. Actually, he don't even make the video. He just reposted some other guys' research and stuff. It was essentially about the Bible saying the earth is essentially a ring.
A what?
Saying the earth was essentially a ring. Like there's a scripture where basically the earth is explained as like a ring rather than, a ball or a sphere.
Okay, because it was the
And
frame
it's a
of
scripture
reference.
like in
Old
Psalms,
Testament. Old Testament, right? Because
Yeah.
it was the frame of reference that they had at the time.
Yes. And so, of course, I made an argument against it. And, not to rehash all of that stuff, of course, but the argument I made against that is that, like you said, frame of reference, I was like a ring is similar to a circle.
Mm-hmm.
So if you were to see the earth, you would say it's a circle. Just because he says a ring doesn't get laid down, I can stand a circle up too.
Right.
You know what I mean? And he was like, well, why wouldn't they use it? I said, well, they didn't have another word. He's like, well, why wouldn't God just invent the word sphere at the time? Well, because that's what they were speaking. Like, this is how they were speaking at the time, and this is the reference they had. And so it was a back and forth thing in the comments section to where he decided. And I told, my pure argument really is that a circle is, like a sphere is not a circle, but a circle is a sphere.
Correct.
Because a sphere is essentially,
A circle.
unlimited circles.
Right.
And so, because I was making that argument, he decided he's going to make a video completely dedicated to my lunacy in his eyes. And I wasn't even arguing that God existed or that the Bible was real. I was just arguing that your point is poor. The point that you're trying to make in this is not good. You know what I mean? And so I didn't even say I believed in God or the Bible. I just said you're wrong with this point you're making. It's a terrible point.
Yeah, talk about also like missing the mark, right? If you don't think the Bible's true, why would you pick Psalm to be your like point of contention about that? Like there's some far more like accurate verses that you would want to combat before
that's definitely
the
more
Psalm
questionable.
about it being a ring.
That's
right?
definitely more questionable
Which
scriptures than
verses
just
are
that.
you?
Well, I'm just saying that like if you're gonna try and take on the Bible and say that it's not true, you probably want to start with Genesis
Yeah.
rather than one of the Psalms.
So the origin components, yeah.
Right. So I figure there's bigger fish to fry than to argue about
Yeah.
The reference.
the reference of a ring.
And
Yeah.
the roundness.
Somebody referencing the earth as being like a ring.
That's just me
So you
as
say
like
that
a
means that it's
pragmatist right
flat.
there. Like if you're gonna do that, like,
And that's why I think it got down to the point where I told him, because he said somebody's, even his third grade son would know the difference between a sphere and a circle or whatever. And I was like, man, tell your son to go draw a sphere in the snow.
That's a good answer.
But only when in the snow. I told him to draw a sphere on paper. And I was like, when he picks up, it's still flat. So he had his son go out in the snow, and he told his son to draw a circle in the snow, and then he had him told him to make a sphere, and then the son picked up the snow and made a snow. So that's not the same. That's not what I told you to do, buddy.
Right.
But at that point, I realized, like, all right,
Redevolving.
your mind is not elevated enough to have this conversation with me.
Or,
So I'm
I
gonna
mean,
leave it
it's
alone.
easy.
We're self-critical.
Well, doesn't that go to kind of what we were talking about in the beginning, though? You can take any one part of anything and make it an argument.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, everything from racism to biblical truths or untruths or cultural acceptance of, a transgender individual. Your word, they, like they is a word, you know how they are.
Yeah.
Well, that could be an insulting phrase.
Exactly.
Well, it's othering,
Right,
right?
other.
But they-
Then not us.
But
yeah.
that is what we have been asked to do.
Mhm.
If we don't know, essentially, is to say that.
And then why though? I think we would avoid a lot of challenges, not only in our lives, but our culture and society and people in general. Is it really worth the energy I'm about to put into this argument?
No, it rarely ever is.
I mean, unless it's me and you, trying to, as friends, trying to connect, and Elliot, we're trying to hash something out so we really understand a position with each other. Well, for that first means we're probably going to do it respectfully. We're going to sit down and actually have a conversation. I'm willing to put the energy into that, but somebody who tells me that the Bible is untrue because of a psalm reference to the earth being like a ring,
Destroyed you.
I ain't got time for that. I mean, I got other things to do today than argue with you about that. And I think that's part of why and today I'm enjoying just having a conversation, because there's enough stuff out there that we can argue about. It's racially driven, culturally driven, financially, whatever driven, all of this stuff. But do we really, I mean, at some point, I just don't have the energy for that anymore. I mean, I don't want to. Now, I do want to continue what we're doing here. I do absolutely want to do that, because I think that needs to happen, and we're going to get back to hard topics, and those moments are going to come. I'm willing to invest that energy for you and for Elliot.
Yeah, well, sometimes you just need a reprieve.
Well, no,
right?
I'm just thinking in general. It's like somebody walking up to you and going, "F you." Okay, thanks. I mean, what? Doing something antithetical to the expected response, I think, is more fun than actually engaging. Now you walk up and push me, that's a different thing. But if you're just like, my little ball caps that I was looking at this morning, thinking, I wonder how that looks to people. I took my hat off the other day. It's on the dashboard, and it's got a flag on it, pointing, to the front. Some people probably got offensive. I'm like, God, am I going to pull up in a parking lot and somebody, you're a racist American or something? I'll be like, okay, thanks. And I'm not going to, but I hope that doesn't happen, but I wondered, it's like people didn't put a Trump sticker on their car because they were getting vandalized or whatever. And that's not a reference to Trump or any anti-Trump. It's just something that went on. That's just kind of what made me think about the flag being in the car. But, the energy to engage in an argument, at some point we stand on what we believe, right? And your point too earlier about not pushing it on you. Like, my interpretation of the First Amendment right is you have the absolute right to say whatever you want to say, whenever you want to say it, up to the point that it infringes on my right not to have to listen to it. Meaning, I can walk away, or if it's my property, you don't get to do that, or I can get in my car and go. Now, if you're walking behind me yelling and screaming, then you've denied me the right to get away. At that point, do I turn and engage? No, I just keep on walking until you get tired. But, I mean, or go away. But why, it's like there's appropriate ways to make your point, and then there's inappropriate ways to make your point. Right here on the corner of our road, Town Lake Parkway, after George Floyd, so I'm not trying to bring up a racial thing, but one man stood on the corner with a sign that said, "I can't breathe." showing support, right? Didn't do anything, wasn't waving, jumping up and down, doing anything crazy. Just stood there all day, or most of the day. 2 times I drove by, he was there, holding a flag. Holding a sign that said, "I can't breathe." And I remember thinking, that's fine. That's cool. You're not burning down the street. You're not rioting through our neighborhood. That was an appropriate way. Where there are inappropriate ways to express that frustration. We've touched on that before when you start to vandalize and damage and, do things, hurt people, whether they, I don't want to get into all that.
No.
What's my point? Because we can take one event in our lives and we can translate that into racial injustice or racism or gender bias, and here comes the police for Tillman. We got to run.
We're close to the end.
I know, but one of that. That's a good point to get back to at some point. That because someone, a dad or a cousin or a coworker or a black man yells or screams, now all black people or all white men over the age of 40, like my dad or a cousin who may be, from a more rural county, or something, they're all country folk are X, they're this. And what is wrong about that to me is that you're implying that you've been persecuted or judged or something, but in the same breath you're doing it, right? Just a thought. And I want to go back to the point, I think, is that it's what we're doing, what we're trying to do in terms of conversation, establishing where's the line. There is going to be energy and intensity at times. But I really think that as a practice that we all should consider whether a moment deserves the energy that we put into it. Is it really worth arguing with the guy that's yelling and screaming and, why? Turn around, walk away. Or go, okay. Yes, you're right. It's kind of like if somebody ever says to you, you're in denial. How do you answer that?
I'm not in denial.
No, yes? You're right or no? How do you answer that?
My honest answer tends to be maybe.
Okay, good. I
I
don't know.
That's just you.
But this is what it is.
I like that one. Some people say things that intentionally put you in a position where you feel like you gotta.
Well, it's like anytime you're dating somebody that your parents didn't like, they go like, "Well, what do you really like about them?" And you're like, "Well, anything you say is not really going to come across like very genuine, but they're funny. I like them. They're."
Well, they're not even saying. They don't even want to know that.
Yeah, they don't.
They're expressing their.
Trying to undermine you.
Yeah.
Well, they're expressing their dislike of that person. Yeah. Now later we can talk about this personally if we need to, as it pertains.
Oh, you're looking at me. All right, well, we're going to call it here, guys. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Leave a comment below the video. We'll see you next week. Happy Father's Day.
Yes.
Take it easy.
All right.
All right.